Shall we start, sir?
Yeah, we can get started. Yes, please.
Yes. So a very good afternoon to all the invited delegates, all the participants, and all the true aspirants present over here. So we all are excited and we are witnessing the true celebration in its true sense. That is the Azadi ka Amrit Mahotsav. And a part of the same, Department of Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade. So we are organizing the Innovation Week celebration, that is from 10th to 16th January 22. And as a part of it, this is the e-Symposium on building innovation and entrepreneurial ecosystem in the educational institution. And today we have, this is the first keynote address, and I'm really excited so much to introduce before you one of the most sought after professionals in the tech world today with us. Is none other than Shri Sridhar Vembu, sir, founder of ZOHO Corporation. With the permission of all present over here, I would like to introduce sir with few words. Mr. Sridhar Vembu is the CEO of ZOHO Corp, the company behind the ZOHO suite of online applications. He co-founded AdventNet in 1996 and has been CEO since 2000. AdventNet has transformed itself from a modest beginning as a software company serving network equipment vendors to an innovative online application provider. It has maintained growth and profitability without needing outside capital. Prior to AdventNet, Sridhar sir worked as a wireless system engineer at Qualcomm Inc., where he was fortunate to work with some of the leading minds in the wireless communication. Sir obtained his bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from the prestigious IIT Madras and PhD in electrical engineering from Princeton University. With this, I hand over the podium to Sridhar Vembu, sir. We all are eagerly awaiting to hear words of wisdom from you. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. A very warm greetings to all of the audience, college audience, and startup aspiring entrepreneurs and founders. And namaskar to everyone. I'm always excited to be talking to this particular audience because this is literally the future of our nation. The future is in your hands, and how you go about what you build, what will determine what our nation is in the next 20, 30, 40 years. And I want to share a few thoughts on how to build a entrepreneurship ecosystem where you are. And that's something that I want to emphasize. So we don't want to think about startups and entrepreneurship as something that's only done in Silicon Valley or Bangalore or Mumbai or Delhi or Chennai. We want to spread this culture everywhere in the nation. There are 800 districts in India, majority of them rural, and I am in one of them in Tenkasi. And entrepreneurship and jobs are vitally needed in rural districts like Tenkasi, where I am. And so with that, that is why we have to spread this culture of innovation and entrepreneurship everywhere across our vast nation. How do we go about doing this? And what do you do as a student in college, if you are a college student still, if you're still in education? How do we really spark that entrepreneurship? And how do you create this as educators? And that is the topic that I've spent quite a bit of time thinking about. And how should we structure our education so that we can promote that culture of innovation? And first thing, education is about learning to build things. Learning to build does not mean some very sophisticated technology or any of that. Start doing really simple things. Learn that first habit of self-reliance. Do not be afraid of technology and pull up your sleeves, get something done. That could be very humble. That could be, fixing our own household needs. It could be learning how the plumbing works, learning basics like that, and learn to build small things with our own hands. And then in a college setting, that also means how to learn to build these projects along with other people. So learning to work together as a team so that we can achieve something tangible. And that is how the educational focus ought to be, where we are continually building projects. In fact, our own ZOHO schools of learning, this is what they emphasize. We are constantly building. For example, we start with building a website, building small apps, build some games, and that's how the students learn. And when you start building like that, then you also learn to work together in a team, and you learn to suspend your ego, boundaries dissolve. And that is first when we have to you learn leadership that is inherent in entrepreneurship only by learning to dissolve those boundaries, learning to let go of that ego. And so that act of working together in small teams, building things, to me, that is the fundamental of education. That is the fundamental to entrepreneurship. So learn to build and learn to build as a team. And then the third vital leg in this is learn to sell. And this is something that we think of sales as often sometimes, oh, you're trying to sell me something, right? But inherent in the act of selling is the act of buying. And economics and economy is all about this exchange of goods and services. I mean, if we don't buy milk and if we don't buy our household goods, how do we get a standard of living? So inherent in the act of buying is somebody is selling that to you. And entrepreneurship, being in business, is also about learning to sell. And that's a vital skill. And how do you sell? And actually, in this village, I am teaching people this. I'm teaching our farmers. Let's grow the vegetables here. Let's also take it in a small auto rickshaw and go door to door in neighboring villages and sell. First, why do I say this? Why do I emphasize this? I want them to learn how to sell and get rid of the fear of selling. And here's the price and collect the money and change the goods with a smile. So all of these, this is very important. And this is important if you learn it at a very young age. These lessons stay with you. So you want to be, even as students, I would actually make them go door to door and get people interested in something. So learn to sell. And I mentioned learning to work as a team to build things. And only when you work together in a team and you understand the dynamics, the psychology of people, all of that, that's when you learn leadership, how to lead. So it's very important to learn leadership by leading, by inspiring. And leadership is only about inspiration. And when we often think of leadership as about giving commands, that's completely a wrong view of leadership. Leadership is always about inspiring others by setting a personal example, being a role model. That is how your own team, when you get to lead, will naturally follow you. Anything else where you try to coerce or you try to control just doesn't work long term. And people don't stick with you. And people never put in their best when there is control and command and control, all of that. So initially, when you learn to work as a team, learn to dissolve the ego boundaries. And there's a very vital quote I always remember. And this is an old quote. I think it's at least 100, years old. We can get a lot of things done if we don't mind who gets the credit, if we don't care about who gets the credit. So this is actually vital to that dissolving the ego boundary. Because if we are obsessed about, am I getting enough credit? Am I getting enough credit? Then we actually won't put in our best, and we are not actually able to inspire others. And the team falls apart when people are constantly worried about who's going to get the credit for this. And only when you actually are able to dissolve that boundary, let go of the ego, are you truly ready to be a leader. And leader is someone people accept, so it comes naturally. Leadership comes naturally in that setting. So the very important thing in a paradoxical way, the best way to be a leader is to learn to dissolve that ego boundary, let go of the idea that I have to get the credit for this. Then naturally things follow. You become a leader. So this is the very vital. As you know, you learn to build, you learn to work together as a team, you learn to sell, and then you learn leadership by essentially becoming more humble, by letting go of the idea of credit and keeping in mind that we can do a lot of things, accomplish as a team, if we don't care who gets the credit. And these are the very basics that on how to grow into your role as an entrepreneur. And then along the way, you learn these lessons of, economics. I'm going to talk about. So, and there's a key thing I'll say. There's a couple of terms I use. Don't get trapped in costly inputs and commodity output. This is actually something that I teach our farmers here. That what are you selling? They're selling, let's say, vegetables. And what are we buying? Well, fertilizer and pesticide, whatnot, seeds. Well, what is the cost of these? And what is the price we realize here? How does the price fluctuate? And there's a trap here often. For farmers often fall into this where the inputs become very costly. The output stays a commodity. There is not enough value addition, as I say. So entrepreneurs have to learn how to add value. And that comes from inherent in the act of selling. So when you sell, you know whether you are able to add value over your inputs. In other words, are you earning a profit on every sale? Are you able to add value over the sum total of your inputs? And so the costly input commodity output is a trap that I caution people against. So entrepreneurs should mind this costly input commodity output trap. And in I actually suggest look at this notion of a gross profit margin, which is very important. You will learn this when you're in business. You have to learn these things. And and this is, think in a retail store. Let's say you buy soap or toothpaste from a wholesaler at 40 rupees and you sell for 50 rupees. The gross profit margin is going to be what, 40 20, so 25%, right? From 40 to 50 you have added 25%. So and you added, or you can take the final price and say 20% of that is the gross margin. So if it's 100 rupees you sell, 20 rupees is close to you. From 50 it's 40, so 20% gross margin for you. It's very important to have that gross margin. That is the value you add for keeping the store running, staffing the store, and keeping the goods in stock, all of that. That's your gross profit margin. It's always important to have that notion of value addition. And what is the risk involved? Very low gross profit margin businesses are very high risk. If you don't sell your inventory fast enough, you will lose money. That's another. So these are, again, as I mentioned, very basic lessons. Then these are fundamentals of economics, very basics of economics. And then as you evolve in this, you are, and then this is actually something that you learn as you stay in business. Your long-term orientation is very vital. Nobody, no, you might read stories of rags to riches tales that happen seemingly overnight. I assure you, those are extreme outliers. That's like winning the lottery. Nobody should enter business with this "I am going to win the lottery" mindset, because odds are statistically you will not win the lottery. So it's better to go into business with a very long-term orientation. Think of it as, this is something I'm going to do for my life. That's the long-term orientation. And to be long-term in it, you have to be contented. You cannot do anything long-term if you don't have an attitude of contentment and humility and gratitude. These are words that are ultimately they go into spiritual territory, and which is why Swami Vivekananda is right there providing me that guidance daily. I read his works daily. I try to read a little bit of his wisdom. There is that notion of, if you can only do these things long term if you have that internal contentment, that I would rather be doing something else, I would rather be someplace else. That restlessness we have to avoid. Then only you can do long term. And only if you are able to do these long term can we assure ourselves, or can we earn that success. I won't even say assure. You can earn that success. And this is actually important, where success can only be deserved, never guaranteed. So you can be deserving of success. So if you are willing to work long term, and if you are honest in your dealings, if you inspire people to follow, then you can be deserving of success. And the universe grants you success as a reward. But we cannot keep having that expectation, daily asking ourselves, why am I not successful? That's where that contentment attitude comes in. Every day you enjoy this. So these are some of the things that I have learned in my career. And so as students, educators, all that, project based, learn by doing, learn to work together as teams, learn to inspire and lead, learn to sell. Very important. Don't never forget that, because everybody in business has to be, if you don't sell, you don't eat in business. And if you get a lot done, if you don't care who gets the credit, and that long-term orientation, contentment, humility, these are the themes that I would emphasize. This, I want to wish all of you the very best, and thank you for this opportunity to be in front of you. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you, Sridhar sir. It was really, in a very short span, a complete takeaway meal for all the aspirants who wish to start their career as an entrepreneur, sir. And it's really a living example, sir, like, because the many youngsters nowadays feel like, to kick off my entrepreneurial activity, I should concentrate either on Bangalore, Chennai, or Hyderabad, and I should have such an address so that I could attract more people or more business. And by just sitting in Tenkasi, in the southern part of India, the entire ZOHO Corp is being functioning. That itself is a living example, sir.
Thank you.
And also, one more true guidance that you give to all the aspirants is, sir, regarding ego and people more interested into taking away the credit rather than enjoying the final output. So it is really a lesson or a tip to all the budding aspirants, sir.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for sparing
Thank you.
your time with us, sir. And,
Thank you. Thank you. Best wishes.
thank you.